nobody would blame them for bringing these guys in and talking to them. I personally think they'd be crazy not to take Chase Young with that number 2 pick. But you know Dwayne Haskins well. You've watched his development. What's your thought on whether or not they should consider taking a quarterback?
You have to bring those guys in because if you get a landslide, a mountainous of opportunity there with picks for someone to come in and trade 2 or 3 first-rounders to come up, if they believe that's where they would have to go to get the second quarterback, then I think that Washington would be willing to trade down. But you look at Ron Rivera, he's a veteran coach. He's been in the league for a long time. He's not going to guarantee a spot to anybody. But the reality is Dwayne Haskins, how he played the last 4 weeks of the season, he had the 7th best passer rating in the NFL. It was first among rookies. He had a really good touchdown to interception record. He was pushing the football down the field. He is going to get better. He is going to improve. And because of all those things, I think he is their franchise guy going forward.
Yeah, 2 things. One, to piggyback off Bobby's point, anyone that tells you that Haskins, they should move on from Haskins, did not watch games last year. If you look at the last month of his season, he takes 3 games, the last 3 games they played playoff teams. Yeah. 2 of those games against Philly and the Packers, they pushed those games to single-digit games. Those are winnable football games. He goes for 5 touchdowns, 1 pick in those last 3 games against playoff teams. He played really well in a terrible situation last year. So 1, don't move on from a very promising young quarterback. 2, this is brilliant by Washington to bring both these guys in. You know nothing about Dwayne Haskins as a new staff. Bring him in and watch Dwayne Haskins. I'm not bringing them in to figure out tough stuff about Tua and Joe Burrow. I'm taking Chase Young. I want to see how Dwayne Haskins responds to this. Do you handle it maturely? Do you change? This is their way to gather a year's worth of information in a short period of time on their quarterback to say, we got our guy, or you know what, maybe we need to work with him a little bit more.
In fairness, I think Haskins has been placed in enough adverse circumstances in his 1 year in Washington.
But they haven't experienced him in that way.
I get that. Let me just play devil's advocate. And again, we make these jokes all the time. I'm the president of the Dwayne Haskins fan club. Yeah. Anyone who watches this show knows that I was all over him before the draft. But the reality is this position is important enough that I'm just going to ask you a question. Who's going to be a better quarterback long term, Tua or Dwayne Haskins? So if he's sitting there, so if he's sitting there, I'm just saying, if he's sitting there and you have the 2nd pick, I get that it's totally unfair and ridiculous. And
I think Tua.
That's my point. So you have to at least consider it, don't you?
No, because what's the better situation, Tua or Dwayne Haskins and Chase Young?
I don't know. 10 years from now, if Tua's a better quarterback than Haskins, it will have been worth doing. It's just that simple.
Chase Young's the best player in this draft.
But he doesn't play the most important position.
But what happens if Tua is a great quarterback and Haskins is really stinking good? Like, you know, I understand it. I'm an ex-quarterback. I want the greatest quarterback in the history of the world type thing. But it's about team and building teams and whatnot. And Haskins and Young is a better option than just Tua.
Number 1, Haskins hasn't played a lot of games. He's going to continue to get better and better and better. And I don't think the margin would ever be the point where you would say Tua is definitively better, especially when you factor in you could have Chase Young with him.
Then to me, there's no discussion to be had. But there is, I think, a devil's advocate if you look at it a different way. Thank you for watching ESPN on YouTube.
For more sports and analysis, download the ESPN app.
And for live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN Plus right now.